Thank you.
You deserve it all, my love.
I can't believe this is real.
It's real, my love.
I love you.
I love you too.
Please, I am your wife.
Wife? You are nothing but a servant in this house.
You wretched girl! How dare you! Get out! I understand the truth now.
Amarachi, my dear, the market is so lively today.
Yes, Mama, it's wonderful to be here.
Let's get what we need.
Mama, another leak! I see it! Moving the bucket!
Tomatoes, fresh tomatoes, 200 naira a pile. Onions, 150. Welcome, my dear. How can I help?
My people, come closer. The goat that mocks the tortoise forgets that slow step can still reach the finish line. Let me tell you a story about love, betrayal, and the kind of justice that comes when people think they have destroyed you. Before we begin, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and comment below telling me where you are watching from. Now sit down well and listen carefully. This story begins in Enugu, where Amarachi Okeke lived with her mother in a small 2-room apartment behind a busy market. The walls were cracked, the roof leaked whenever it rained, and some nights they had to place buckets on the floor to catch the water. But even in that small house, there was peace. Amarachi was raised by her mother, Mama Ifeoma, after her father died when she was only 8 years old. Mama Ifeoma sold vegetables in the market. Every morning before sunrise, she arranged tomatoes, peppers, and onions in neat piles and sat for long hours under the hot sun. Her hands were rough, her back often ached, but she never complained. Work hard, my daughter, she always said. A clean heart and honest hands will take you far. Amarachi listened. She studied hard in school, prayed every night, and stayed away from trouble. By the grace of God, she finished nursing school and got a job at a small private clinic in Enugu. The pay was modest, but Amarachi loved her work. She treated every patient with care. She held the hands of frightened children. She comforted old people when they were in pain. And when poor patients could not afford medicine, she sometimes used her own money to help them. People in the neighborhood respected her. She is a good girl, they would say. Any man who marries Amarachi will be blessed. But Amarachi was not dreaming of a rich husband. She did not pray for private jet, mansions, or designer bags. She wanted something much simpler, a kind man, a peaceful home. Children who would laugh around the tiny table, and a husband who would love and appreciate and respect her. At night, after a long shift at the clinic, she would sit with her mother outside their apartment and talk about the future. One day, Amarachi said softly, "I will have a happy family and you will never suffer again." Mama Ifeoma smiled and squeezed her daughter's hand. "I believe you, my child." Amarachi had a gentle heart, strong faith, and quiet dignity. She did not know that her life was about to change in a way she could never imagine, because somewhere far away in Lagos, a billionaire named Obinna was about to notice her, and that meeting would bring her more pain than she had ever known. When Obinna first walked into the small clinic in Enugu, Amarachi did not know who he was. He wore simple clothes and dark glasses. There were no bodyguards around him. He spoke softly and thanked her after she treated his injured hand. 2 days later, a black luxury car stopped in front of the clinic. The driver stepped out and handed Amarachi a bouquet of flowers. Inside was a note. "I have met many beautiful women, but few with a beautiful heart. Please allow me to know you better. Obinna." At first, Amarachi was unsure, but Obinna was patient. He called her every evening. He visited her mother. He spoke respectfully and promised that he wanted a real marriage, not just a pretty wife. Within 8 months, he proposed. Mama Ifeoma cried tears of joy. "My daughter," she said, "God has remembered us." The wedding took place in Lagos. It was like something from a movie. Famous musicians performed. Politicians and business leaders filled the hall. Camera flashed from every corner. Amarachi wore a sparkling gown she had never dreamed of owning. Her relatives sat in amazement. Many whispered, "Our Amarachi has entered a fairy tale." For a brief moment, it seemed true. After the wedding, Obinna took Amarachi to his enormous mansion in Lagos. The floor was made of shining marble. Chandeliers hung from the ceiling like stars. There were more rooms than Amarachi could count. But on the very first evening, she felt a coldness in the air. Obinna's mother, Madam Ngozi, looked Amarachi up and down. "So this is the nurse from Enugu," she said with a thin smile. "A market woman's daughter in my family." Amarachi forced a polite smile and lowered her eyes. The next morning, things became worse. Madam Ngozi gathered the house staff. "No one should call her madam," she said. "She has not earned that title." The maids nodded. The guide avoided eye contact. Even the cook spoke to her as if she did not belong there. When Amarachi asked for one of the cars to visit her mother, Obinna said, "The drivers are busy." When she asked about household money, he replied, "You do not need to concern yourself with that." When there were business dinner and social events, he went alone. "Stay home," he told her. "You would not fit in." Amarachi tried to remain helpful and hopeful. She told herself that marriage required patience, but deep in her heart, she began to feel something she could not explain. For the first time, she wondered if she had walked into a house where love was only a beautiful lie. Days turned into weeks, and weeks turned into months. Instead of growing warmer, Obinna became colder. The sweet man who once sent flowers to Amarachi seemed to disappear. In his place stood someone distant, impatient, and hard. Madam Ngozi wasted no time. "You are the wife of my son," she said one morning. "But that does not mean you will sit around doing nothing." From that day, Amarachi was treated like unpaid staff. She woke up at 4:30 every morning. Before sunrise, she was already in the kitchen preparing breakfast for Obinna, Madam Ngozi, and many relatives who come and went from the mansion. She cooked, she cleaned, she served tea. She checked on the laundry and arranged fresh flower in the living room. When the last guest finished dinner, she was still washing plates long after midnight. The housemaids watched in silence. Some pitied her, but no one dared to help. Whenever Amarachi made a mistake, Madam Ngozi scolded her. "A market woman's daughter should at least know how to scrub properly," she would say. Obinna never defended her. If anything, he became more controlling. When Amarachi asked to visit her mother in Enugu, he shook his head. "Your place is here." When she tried to call Mama Ifeoma too often, he complained, "You are married now, stop acting like a child." Sometimes he would disappear for days on business trip and return without even greeting her. At night, Amarachi knelt beside her bed and prayed. "God," she whispered, "touch my husband's heart. Help him love me again." She believed patience could heal any marriage. But what Amarachi did not know was that Obinna had never married her for love. Months before the wedding, his grandfather had changed his will. The old man believed that only a married man with good character should inherit the family empire. Without a legal wife, Obinna would lose billions of naira. He needed a respectable woman, a woman with a clean name, a woman who would make him look worthy. And Amarachi, kind, honest, and trusted by everyone, was the perfect choice. To Obinna, she was never a partner. She was a key, a signature, a means to unlock his inheritance. While Amarachi prayed for her marriage, lawyers were finalizing the transfer of companies, houses, and bank accounts in Obinna's name. And once everything belonged to him, he no longer had any reason to pretend. 6 months after their wedding, Obinna announced that he was hosting a grand birthday party at the mansion in Lagos. Politicians, celebrities, and wealthy business people filled the house. Luxury cars lined in the street. Music played loudly. Waiters moved through the crowd carrying trays of food and drinks. Amarachi thought that at last Obinna would introduce her proudly as his wife. She spent hours preparing. She wore a simple but beautiful blue dress and styled her hair carefully. But just before the guest arrived, Madam Ngozi entered her room. "Take that dress off," she said coldly. She threw a plain black uniform onto the bed. "Tonight, you will serve the guests." Amarachi stared at her in disbelief. "Serve them?" she whispered. Madam Ngozi folded her hands. "If you want to stay in this house, do as you are told." With trembling hands, Amarachi changed the clothes. All evening, she moved through the crowded rooms, carrying trays like a maid. Many guests looked at her with confusion. Some recognized her as Obinna's wife. Others whispered behind her back. Still, she kept silent. She hoped the night would end without more pain. Then Obinna tapped his glass with a spoon. The room fell quiet. He stood at the center of the hall with a glamorous woman in sparkling red gown. The woman smiled as if she already owned the house. Obinna wrapped his arm around her waist. "I want to introduce everyone," he said, grinning, "to the woman I truly love." Amarachi froze. The tray slipped in her hands and glasses crashed to the floor. The room erupted in shocked murmurs. Amarachi stepped forward, tears filling her eyes. "Obinna," she whispered, "what are you saying?" He turned to her with no shame. "I only married you to unlock my inheritance," he said. His voice was calm, as if he were discussing the weather. "You were a temporary tool, nothing more." A few guests gasped. Others laughed nervously. Amarachi stood there, unable to breathe. Every sacrifice, every prayer, every tear suddenly made terrible sense. Madam Ngozi clapped her hands sharply. Two guards stepped forward. "Pack your things," she said. "This house has no place for you." When Amarachi ran upstairs, she found her suitcase already stuffed. Madam Ngozi dragged it to the front door and threw it onto the driveway. The suitcase burst open, spilling her clothes onto the ground. "Take this village girl out of my sight," she ordered. The guard opened the gate. Amarachi looked at Obinna one last time. He did not move. He did not speak. He simply turned back to his guest. And with her heart shattered in pieces, Amarachi stepped into the dark night with nowhere to go. Amarachi spent the night at a small motor park, sitting on her suitcase and trying to understand what had happened. By morning, her eyes were swollen from crying. She used the little cash she had in her handbag to buy a bus ticket back to Enugu. The journey felt longer than ever before. She stared out the window in silence as town and villages passed by. The white wedding, the mansion, the insult, the laughter at the party. Every painful memory played again and again in her mind. When she reached home, Mama Ifeoma opened the door. The older woman took one look at her daughter and understood that something terrible had happened. Amarachi fell into her mother's arms and wept. For 3 days, she barely left her bed. She felt ashamed. She felt foolish. Most of all, she felt empty. Then another blow came. Mama Ifeoma collapsed while preparing dinner. At the hospital, the doctor explained she had severe high blood pressure and needed regular treatment. Amarachi sat beside her mother's bed, holding her hand. "I'm sorry, Mama," she whispered. "I should have protected you from all of this." That night, as she worried about how to pay for the treatment, her phone rang. It was a lawyer from Abuja. "Are you Nurse Amarachi Okeke?" the man asked. "Yes," she replied cautiously. "I am calling regarding the estate of Mrs. Grace Adeyemi." Amarachi remembered her immediately. Mrs. Adeyemi was an elderly widow which she had cared for years earlier at the clinic. The woman had no children. Amarachi had often stayed after her shift to comfort her, read to her, and help her eat. The lawyer continued. Before her death, Mrs. Adeyemi left you shares in her medical company and a substantial sum of money. Amarachi was speechless. "There must be some mistake," she said softly. "There is no mistake," the lawyer replied. "She wrote that you treated her like family when she felt alone." Days later, Amarachi revealed the document. The inheritance was enough to pay for her mother's treatment and still leave a large sum of amount of money. For the first time since her marriage collapsed, she felt hope. She could have used the money to fight Obinna. She could have tried to destroy him. Instead, Amarachi made a different choice. She chose healing over revenge. She chose to build something meaningful. And with quiet determination, she began planning a small clinic of her own. What Obinna had broken, life was about to rebuild into something far greater. Amarachi rented a small building on a quiet street in Enugu. It had only 4 rooms, a few metal chairs, and 1 examination bed. The paint on the walls were fresh, but the equipment was simple. Still, she stood at the entrance on opening day. Tears filled her eyes. A sign above the door read, Grace Health Clinic. She named it after Mrs. Grace Adeyemi, the woman whose kindness had changed her life. Amarachi's goal was clear. She wanted to help ordinary people who could not afford expensive hospital bills. Consultation fees were low. Poor patients were never turned away. Pregnant women received care with dignity. Elderly people were treated with patience and respect. Word spread quickly. People came from nearby towns because they trusted Nurse Amarachi. She listened, they said. She truly cared. Within 2 years, the clinic became a thriving medical center. Investors noticed. A healthcare company offered to partner with her. Then another group approached with funds to expand. Amarachi accepted carefully. She opened new clinics in Abuja, Port Harcourt, and Lagos. Each clinic followed the same rule: treat every patient with kindness. 5 years passed. Grace Health Clinic had grown into a respectable network across Nigeria. Thousands of families received affordable care. Medical students completed to work with her. Business magazine featured her story. She donated medicine to rural communities and paid for surgeries for children whose parents had no money. The company was now worth hundreds of millions of naira, but the greatest change was inside Amarachi herself. The timid woman who once begged for love was gone. In her place stood a calm, confident woman. She dressed with quiet elegance. She spoke with assurance. Her smile returned, but it was stronger now. She no longer needed anyone's approval. Without announcing it publicly, Amarachi hired a lawyer and finalized her divorce from Obinna. She did not call him. She did not send angry messages. She signed the papers and moved on with her life. One evening, she sat beside her recovering mother on the veranda. Mama Ifeoma looked at her daughter with pride. "They tried to break you," she said softly. Amarachi smiled. "No, Mama," she replied. "They only forced me to discover who I truly am." But far away in Lagos, the family who once mocked her had no idea that their world was about to collapse. Karma did not arrive in one day. It came slowly, then all at once. 2 years after Amarachi left the mansion, financial investigators began looking into Obinna's ADK's company. They discovered false contracts, hidden accounts, and millions of naira that could not be explained. Bank accounts were frozen. Business partner pulled away. Newspaper that once praised Obinna now carry headlines about fraud and corruption. The woman he had introduced as the one I truly love disappeared. She emptied a joint account and fled to Dubai. She never called him again. Madam Ngozi suffered her own downfall. Several properties were seized to settle debt. Her wealthy friends stopped visiting. The same people who once filled her home with laughter now avoided her calls. The grand mansion was sold. For the first time in her life, Madam Ngozi understood what it meant to be powerless. One rainy afternoon, Amarachi was in her headquarters in Lagos, reviewing plans for a new children's clinic. A secretary entered quietly.
"Ma'am, your husband is outside. He looks terrible." "Send him in."
Amarachi went silent for a moment. Then she said, "Send him in." Obinna walked into the office looking like a different man. His expensive suits were gone. His shoulders were bent. His eyes were tired. He stood before the woman he was treated like a servant and began to cry. "Amarachi," he said, his voice shaking, "please forgive me. I was blind." Amarachi looked at him calmly. There was no anger left in her heart, only clarity. "When I was your wife," she said, "you treated me like a slave." She paused and met his eye. "Now I am free, and freedom is worth more than your billions." Obinna nodded his head. He had no words. He turned and walked away, carrying the weight of his own choices. A year later, Amarachi married Dr. Chinedu Okafor, a kind and humble physician who admired her strength and respected her completely. Mama Ifeoma received the best medication care and enjoyed a peaceful life. Grace Health Clinics continued to grow, helping thousands across Nigeria, and Amarachi never forget the lesson Obinna taught her. Never despise a humble person. The one you mistreat today may become the very person you need tomorrow. My people, what would you have done if you were Amarachi? Would you forgive Obinna? Comment below and tell me your thoughts. And if you enjoyed this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel and share it with someone who needs to hear this message. Thank you. I love you all.